It has the ever so slightest aroma of cannabis. So we have no clue what is about to happen here.
Yeah, we'll see how this episode goes.
I didn't know my British accent may stay for the entirety of the show.
And I said, I love your countertops. And he goes, thank you. We change them every 10 years.
So it's like, would you prefer to be crushed or sunken into the earth?
Only for me to put it down and look and realize it was over an even uglier wallpaper. Ducks with bonnets.
Hi, Alissa.
Hey, Katy.
Grab your hot tea and take a big swig. It's April showers.
Oh.
Womp,
womp.
womp.
But don't worry. Next week, we'll talk about Mayflowers.
Yeah, or maybe we'll wait till May.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We should.
No, maybe we won't. We'll see.
Okay. At some point, we will talk about the positive vibes and benefits of owning a home.
Right. For this week, we're going to give you all the negatives. No, not really. But we are going to talk about houses are hard.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just framing that as an April shower situation. So there are some negatives when you become a homeowner.
Yeah.
And like, what do you say? Welcome to homeownership.
Oh, yes. Welcome to home ownership.
Yeah, like when your old client. Oh, by the way, this is 243 episode.
Oh, yeah.
In case you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? That is right.
Mm-hmm.
We just did 242?
But it's like you have close on your home. The honeymoon phase is over.
Right.
On to
Right.
real life now.
Right.
All that fun dating, looking at houses and all the beautiful things
Honeymoon
they have
is over.
to offer.
It's over.
Now you're living together, paying the bills.
You realize they leave their clothes on the ground all the time.
the house doesn't clean itself.
Who's doing the dishes?
Mm-mm.
Eh.
Mm.
Yikes. Wakes up too early, makes a bunch of racket when they're going to work out at 4 in the morning. Nothing but trouble, home ownership. Nothing but trouble.
Home ownership.
Okay,
is
so we're just
hard.
going to share some stories, but do you want to tell them about the tea we're drinking today or no?
So for Katie's birthday, we are both watching Suits right now.
That's right.
We're kind of just watching it together, catching up. We're a little behind.
I'm a little slow right now.
Me too. I'm not.
Are you in season?
caught up.
I'm
No.
still in 4, I think.
I think me too.
Okay.
You're
fine.
catching up to me.
Great.
But in one of the episodes,
Lewis Litt
Litt
is preparing a gift for the British fella that comes and purchases the firm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Lewis walks in, and the British person is trying to bribe Lewis. And he says, do you know what this is? And Lewis says, De Hung Pao Tea.
Right. Lewis is giving him a gift. The British guy.
He researched Lewis.
The fanciest, but they researched each other. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
He's like, I brought you the fanciest French patisserie, like some chocolate croissant. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then it was the
He was like, is that De Hung Pao Tea?
De Hung Pao tea.
And then he goes, the most expensive tea in the world.
in the world.
So for Katie's birthday, since we're both Suits fans, and she likes tea, I got her the most expensive tea in the world.
It's delicious.
Yes.
It seems to be strong, and we both agree it has the ever so slightest aroma of cannabis. So we have no clue what is about to happen here.
Yeah, we'll see how this episode goes.
I didn't know my British accent may stay for the entirety of the show. I don't know. It does smell.
It does. It doesn't taste that way, but it smells that way.
It's strong. It is the darkest tea I have ever
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
had.
I guess for the most expensive tea in the world, it has to be rich.
Concentration must be there.
Yeah.
We're either going to be hyped up or low down. I can't decide.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
All right, let's get started. So in the welcome to homeownership vibe, we wanted to share some stories
Mhm.
of our past clients and our personal home ownership journeys. This is not educational on how to serve your clients. It is more simply the stories of home ownership.
We've had a lot of how-to episodes lately, so we thought it was time to just lighten it up a little bit.
Grab your tea or your coffee. It's story time.
You loved our Black Friday deals so much that we are bringing them back.
Coming on Monday, April 1st, we will be sharing a different deal each day for 5 days.
Don't be a fool. These deals are for reals.
Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/deals.
I also feel like whenever I call I used to be, when I was a new agent,
Uh-huh.
I used to love following up with clients after closing
Yeah.
and being like, how's the house? Have you painted yet? And then people were like, well, the pipe burst and
We can't afford to paint anymore.
yes, like I was hearing, and it's like sometimes it was big things like that, and sometimes it was like, yeah, we're realizing this previous owner did a lot of DIY work around here.
Gotta
like
undo it.
now they're living in the home
Yeah.
and learning the quirks of the home. And
Right.
so I got to where I got nervous and hesitant to call after closing.
The calls weren't going great.
Because in most
You
of
just
them,
didn't have the right response,
No.
which is what now?
Yeah.
How do you respond now? Do you say, oh, or do you just wait longer to call?
I say, welcome to homeownership. Isn't it fun?
Cheers.
Because I do, though, try to remind them that the house isn't going to be perfect. Even if it's a brand new construction house, there's going to be
Especially.
things. For example, when we bought our house, it was a newer home. It was like 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother-in-law was in the process of doing some renovation on her house. And she was like, I remember when y'all were buying your house and like everything was just done. And it made me think, do I just want a new house? But then we had to do a bunch of like drainage work. And that wasn't fun. And it made a
No.
mess and it wasn't working. And we were having to tweak it and do it again. And we were just constantly piddling with the drainage. And she said, it just goes to show that whether you have an old house or a new house, like there's always stuff to be done.
Houses are work.
Houses are work.
They're work and they're hard. And I currently, instead of feeling that resistance of I'm so annoyed I have another house project, now I'm like, I'm so grateful I own a
Mhm.
home. I love that I get to choose new, maybe I want to spruce up my laundry room and paint the cabinets or add some wallpaper or do something fun.
You can.
I love that it's an ongoing project. It means I'm alive
Mhm.
and that I'm living in this home that I want to baby and take care of and make better and enjoy because it's where you are every single day.
I agree. I went on a listing appointment one time and the house was just beautiful. And they were an older couple, but the wife was very into interior design.
Yeah.
But I was expecting the house to just be stuffier just because I knew they had lived there for like
long time.
40 years.
Ooh, that's a very long time.
long time. No, I walked in. This house was so modern. The furniture, everything was just beautiful. And I said, I love your countertops. And he goes, thank you. We change them every 10 years.
So they changed them like 4 times.
Yes.
But it's
That's
sort of
so
like having
smart, though.
It's sort of like having a wardrobe, right? Your closet, yeah, there might be some staple pieces that you leave and you love forever. Like maybe you love the doors. The doors are beautiful. But maybe you look at the counters, like you look at your blouses from last year. Blouses. I don't know why I'm saying that word, but you look at your shirts from last year and you're like,
Yeah.
I
Just
don't-
kind of tired
I'm ready
looking.
for a little refresh, or like this isn't the type of jeans people are wearing anymore. Like these aren't the type of backsplashes people are putting in anymore.
Mhm.
Or like colored bathtubs. People always send me the vintage bathrooms.
Yes.
Like when the toilets were purple and the bathtub was purple and the sink was purple and shaped like a shell.
Right.
That's not really current anymore.
Mhm.
Although I do kind of like when people are able to take a vintage bathroom and give it a couple of modern touches or like modern paint color and then it looks great again.
I had a client who, after we closed, the whole house needed so much renovation, wallpaper, everything was everywhere. He renovated the whole house to be totally like modern, minimal, sort of like, I don't know what that word is I'm looking for, what kind of design. But
Mid-century modern?
yeah,
Like
it was just very unique. And
Okay.
But he left the half bath original that guests use.
Yes.
And so when you go in there, it's
like a
like
time capsule.
yes. He said it's a great conversation piece at parties.
I'll bet.
I was
Because they're like, where did this bathroom
yeah,
come
and he's
from?
like, this is what the whole house used to look like.
Like, don't you kind of wish that people go to some part of your house and are like, wow.
Look how cool that is.
Do you know which part of my house now that is?
What?
The pantry.
Oh, yeah.
When I'll be like, go right in here, please.
Because you think it's just a cabinet.
And they're like, wow.
It's a secret room.
This pantry is amazing. But let's back up to bad stuff at houses.
Oh, yeah.
So
sorry.
I have lived in a brand new home that I bought that was a starter home. Okay.
Okay.
It was brand new, but it was spec. I didn't have anything to do with it. I rolled up. It was every bit of builder's brown. It was the year 2005. And it was a tiny little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot on a nice size lot, backed up to some woods. We loved it. I was so excited. I was so happy because I looked at some old homes. So it's about what I could afford.
Yeah, so when you see something newer.
And when I could afford a new house, I was like, I know this isn't the neighborhood that I'm dying to be in, but man.
Look at this house.
Fresh and clean. Nobody has used these toilets. After a few months, or maybe pretty early on, I feel like, Jay went into the attic to do something. And there was not a stitch of insulation
oh my word.
in the attic.
So Jay never went in the attic before closing?
No, interestingly.
Handy Jay?
And I had a pretty handy male realtor at the time. I wasn't a realtor at the time.
Did you have a home inspection?
No, never was recommended one. Didn't even know they existed.
Stop it.
Because I was a first-time buyer. I didn't know what a home inspection was. I was just like, let's buy a house. I'll call an agent. They'll tell me what to do.
Oh my God. I did not know this story.
No home inspection. Not a stitch of insulation in the entire attic. None.
Okay.
So there is the New Home Warranty Act because it's Louisiana, and it was within the first year for sure that we noticed this. And I called my agent who called the builder, and they were like, oh my God, we built like 10 houses on that road at the same time. They just delivered your insulation to the wrong house. Like they thought it was there.
Yeah.
Which I'm also like, you don't do any kind of QC at the end of your build.
Right. What else did you think was here?
No doubt. So they came and put in the insulation. So great. Problem solved. But it just was like this moment where I was like, oh my God, like I didn't go in the attic before I bought this house. I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Nor would I have been like, something's wrong up here.
It seems very open.
Why can I see the ceilings? Right. And then Jay, not long after that, was installing surround sound and stepped through the ceiling right next to the living room fan.
Was there insulation at this time? Was this after?
Probably, because it made a giant mess, right?
Yeah.
So again, you have to patch it up. The ceiling never looks the same again.
Right.
I would love to hear how many people listening have had someone steps through the ceiling story.
So many.
Because guess what? In my current home, someone has also stepped through the ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
In the middle of the kitchen area where it's still, I can see it right now. It still needs to be like repainted so it actually matches. It's mostly blending in, but geez. Mm-hmm. That was a third party though. That wasn't any of us who stepped in there. Okay. Tell me another story.
When I first married Tanner, he owned a home.
Okay.
And he had never done anything to the home prior to me coming along. Mm-hmm. So the old lady who passed away, her curtains were still hanging there. And he had like guy roommates, they just didn't care. Mm-hmm. So after we got engaged and I'm starting to look at this house as my own, I'm like, I need to make some changes here. Mm-hmm. The bathroom had the ugliest wallpaper. So he was working one night and I thought, I YouTubed, this looks easy, right? Remove wallpaper. So I reach up and grab the corners and it comes off in a beautiful, perfect sheet. Great. And I'm like, it worked just like the video. Only for me to put it down and look and realize it was over an even uglier wallpaper. Ducks with bonnets. Like, I thought we had the ugliest wallpaper.
You were like, how do I get it back on top?
Yes. But I couldn't get it back on top. So I just went on ahead and stripped the first layer.
When he came home, it was ducks with bonnets.
So then I'm like, I got to get these ducks off.
Stop it.
But I couldn't. It was one.
That's why they papered on top.
It was one with the sheetrock. Knowing what I know now, it's okay to paint over it. There's a way to do that.
Yeah, you can paint it.
I didn't know that then.
So what did you do? Did you start ripping in little strips?
And then I stopped. I just was like,
Talk about a new texture.
I'm going to have to call a professional. But Tanner the next day was like, did you hang this wallpaper in the
ducks?
Like, he couldn't understand how it got. I was like, no, it was behind. Why would I hang that? It was behind the other wallpaper.
You should have told him you did. Yeah, you don't like it?
It's like, that is so something like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, when she's like, it's our love fern. Like, you don't like the wallpaper?
I have to get up because you're not going to believe what I have.
Oh,
in the
my.
closet.
But really, like, it's like you proposed and now I'm hanging wallpaper. Oh, it died.
It's actually our love fern. It's
Why is
dead.
it dead?
Because I'm a special person who, when this fern died, YouTube is loving this. When this fern died, I was like, I'll make some kind of funny content about our love fern. It died.
Well, I just gave it to you.
So I know. I've been waiting 2 years. I think that's been in my closet. So it's going to stay here with our hot tea.
Okay, great.
And our dead fern.
Kind of looks like cannabis.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on over here.
But that first house,
wow.
we are not handy people.
Oh my God.
And now that we have income, because we had none then, now that we have income, I'm like, Tanner's like, do you want me to change that light bulb? I'm like, no, don't do that. Just because he's not very handy. And he'll just put in a totally different color light bulb and doesn't even see it. Doesn't even see that it doesn't match.
And I live on the exact opposite of the spectrum, where Jay has fixed some things, and our current home is just about to be 10 years old, okay? We built it ourselves, and so things are starting to get to the age where they need some love. He has fixed some things that I'm just like floored. Like the dishwasher door stopped, like the spring broke. And y'all, those doors are really heavy. I have a permanent bruise, I think, on my leg from where it fell. But he's like, okay, I'll just order the part and fix the door, where most people, I think, would either pay a very expensive handyman who may or may not have fixed it, or they would have just been like, guess we have to get a new dishwasher.
That would be me. I just call my fridge went out. I call the appliance people. I'm like, look, I don't want to come look at them.
Yeah, just
here's my model number. Give me whatever you think is closest and best to this and swap them out.
Bye. Well, he fixed it up. Like, we have the front load washing machine. People are like, oh, they're so gross and they get mildewy and whatever. Y'all, that gasket is absolutely replaceable and it's less than $100. So if yours gets gross, you can just, if you're handy like Jay,
can just replace it.
Watch the YouTube and then replace the gasket.
Fascinating.
You know, there's so much home maintenance information in the world. Like, if there's something wrong with your home, one, it can be fixed. There are very few things that are just like, well, I guess we have to burn this place down.
Sometimes, you know, especially as we're getting into the spring and we're about to see all of the maintenance checklists, sometimes they just overwhelm me.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. There's always something to keep up with.
But, right, okay, so home ownership is hard. It is not a set it and forget it. Like, you need to clean your dryer vent or you might be having a fire hazard, right? Would you rather your house to burn down or you to clean your dryer vent every 6 months?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I understand the theory that you're like, oh, this again, but it's also like, what is the alternative? I pay someone else's mortgage, I'm renting from them, and I don't have anything to show for it at the end of 30 years?
Yeah.
It's a give and take.
And we're going to talk more about the
ups.
The ups.
But we're on the downs.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we're in April showers.
So here's the down.
Now.
There is yearly maintenance, and it is absolutely crucial. Like, your paint doesn't last forever.
My house is getting to the age where, like,
we've already painted the outside once, and my house is 10 years old. The inside needs it desperately, but that's more cosmetic. The outside is like, if you don't paint it, you need to seal the outside of your house. Your windows have to be sealed, especially depending on what climate you live in. These are really important things.
See, my first house that I actually bought and was on title had a drainage problem on the right side. Drainage problems follow me, you see. And that house was new too.
Wonder if there's a feng shui situation here.
I know.
Like,
bad energy.
Are you not letting the energy get out of you?
Probably not. That's what's wrong with me.
Let the energy
I just keep
go.
it all bottled up.
You're like, I need this.
So it comes out of my drainage.
Right.
But we noticed that we never went on that side of the house, ever. And then when we did, I noticed that the brick was starting to crack. So because of the new Home Warranty Act, we called the builder who sent someone and was like, nope, not a problem here, which
You don't believe?
I don't believe. But It was just like trying to find creative ways to make the yard work with the drainage and
It's hard.
But then because of the lot I got, I had these 2 gorgeous oak trees in my backyard.
I almost bought that one. It's so
I
funny.
loved it. And so it's like you have to give and take. I do have a slope in the yard that held some drainage, but I got these oak trees.
Right.
I still pass those trees.
Yeah,
and I'm
me
like,
too.
Those were my trees.
It's so fun. I seriously almost bought that lot because we built in that neighborhood before you lived there.
Why didn't you buy that lot?
Because the one across the street it was much larger.
Oh.
We ended up buying the biggest available lot.
Okay. I see.
I guess we thought size was better than quality. I don't know. Anyway. All right. While we're on yards, some of you may know, especially if you're on our email list, that I recently ripped up my entire backyard.
Whole thing.
The whole thing was nothing but a bed of weeds. We've been here 10 years. When we got chickens in 2020, Jay thought it would be fun in the winter of that year or the following year to plant rye seed, like ryegrass seed, just right on top of the grass. So here in Louisiana, the grass goes dormant, right?
Yes.
We had centipede was the type of grass, but we also have St. Augustine here. It all goes dormant in the winter and then comes back in the spring. Well, you can put this ryegrass grows in the winter. You throw the seeds out.
Green.
It's beautiful and green, and the chickens ate it all winter, and it was so lovely. Well, apparently the ryegrass will actually kill the root system of your regular grass.
Yeah.
So after that, the grass never was quite the same. There was nothing you could do to make the grass be thick and green and grass. It was mostly just weeds. And then after last year, we had a drought. Then it was just weeds and dirt.
I know.
There was hardly any grass left, honestly.
The landscaping all around right now is
It's
just in very
rough.
poor condition. Like you're having to totally re-landscape after the climate we've had.
Yeah. So this year, here we are in the spring. I'm looking at this bed of weeds coming to life after the winter. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. So our back fence had rotted. It's been 10 years. It needed to go. The yard got ripped up. The play set was removed because the kids aren't using it anymore. We had some dead trees in the front. We removed all of another section of landscaping in the front that was just driving us crazy. Gone. It was a big removal.
Well, what I think that you did right is you did it so quickly. Like you just had it done.
Yeah.
What I think some people, what I have noticed is they buy a house and they have all these ideas of things they're going to do. And then they call you to sell it 5-10 years later and you walk in.
They haven't done a thing.
Haven't done a thing. And then we have to get them to do those things.
And they do them.
And they do them.
They're like, oh, I wish I would have done this.
And then they're done and they're like, wow, it looks so much better now. You could have been enjoying this the whole time.
Right, instead of cursing at whatever problem it was and waiting until the last minute when you had to do it just to sell.
Yes.
Don't let someone else enjoy it. But you should enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know, it's hard. And when you do something like, my dad said to me, it was very profound, I felt like. He was like, people renovate the inside of their house all the time, right? Those people are changing their granite every 10 years.
How crazy.
He's like, your landscape is the same. It needs renovation. You can't, maybe it got put in the wrong spot. It grew too big. It doesn't, the plants around it aren't happy. Maybe the grass dies. Maybe the fence he's like, you have to renovate your landscape just like you have to renovate your house. It doesn't last forever. And in my mind, I thought, mature landscape is one of those things people put on MLS listings to make it sound good, which is great because it takes a while.
Now, as a homeowner, I know that means I haven't touched my landscaping since I moved in.
So it's huge.
Yeah.
Like you do have to remove and trim and maintain. It's maintenance. That's the thing. There's a lot of home and lawn maintenance associated with owning a home. And that's why the people who say they have to downsize sometimes are buying a bigger house, but it's always a smaller yard. Because they're like, I just don't want to be, it's hot here, y'all. We don't want to be outside, when we're retired, maintaining grass in a lot that we don't ever go out on. Like, it's too much work.
So much work.
Okay, do you want to hear another story about my first house?
Yeah.
The one that didn't have insulation.
Okay.
Brand new house, no insulation. 5 years in. I promise you, it was 5 years in. In fact, that was the year we sold. I walked in. Okay, the way our primary bathroom was set up was double sinks, toilet, a big shower tub combo, and 2 closets, hers, on either side of the tub.
Okay.
Right? Well, mine was on one side. Jay's closet was on the side of the wet wall. You know, the wet wall is where your plumbing is for the bathtub shower.
Yeah.
Okay. One day I go in his closet and I look down at the baseboard and it was carpeted in there. I look at the baseboard and it's like got the discoloration, kind of warpy. And I'm like, something is going on in this closet. So I'm like, Jay, something's going on in this closet. Also, note to people, look at your baseboards, especially in wet areas, bathrooms, laundry rooms, closets that back up to bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quickest way to figure out if you have a leak.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that fester.
Yeah,
So,
don't let that fester.
He pulls off the baseboard.
Oh, gosh.
And cuts a hole in the wall.
Okay. What?
He pulled out 5 gallons of standing water in the closet wall between the shower and the wall. There was not a plumbing leak. That's what you're thinking, right? Well, there's a leak. No, kind of. The faucet, so like the actual faucet where the water comes out, attaches to the shower wall, right? It's just set up against there. It requires one little bead of caulk around it, right?
Oh, man. It's just been going behind there.
1 drop at a time every shower, or 3 drops.
For 5 years.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
It
man.
had just dripped.
Was there mold?
Actually, no.
It's clean water.
It's clean water. I guess there just wasn't any mold in the air. I don't know. It wasn't moldy.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't moldy because it didn't touch drywall. Well, besides it had just hit that baseboard.
Yeah.
But it was sitting in the little, there's a kind of hole almost, if you will, like a dip in the concrete slab.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of had just filled that up like a bowl.
Yeah.
So that part wasn't going to mold. But it had just been dripping.
Wow.
For 5 years. Do you know what it needed? Just a bead of caulk. And do you know what I checked every time I went on new construction, like punch list or walkthrough with my clients? That there was caulk around all of the fixtures and up at that top edge of the shower.
The things home ownership makes you check.
Then you know.
That's why I'm like, people should tile their showers all the way to the ceiling.
Right.
Not stop. You don't want drywall in there.
Yeah. Okay, what's your next story?
Okay, once upon a time,
Oh, can't
I was
wait.
helping this young couple build like with a chain builder, okay?
Okay.
They did not have a huge budget, so we were building like in Greenwell Springs or something, kind of far out there to get a good price point, but they
Rural.
wanted a new house.
Okay, rural.
So we pick out their floor plan the best they could get and, you know, within their budget. And then it's time for the appointment where you pick out all the things you want for the house. Well, it was so sad to me. I didn't really have any money at that time. This was early in my career, but I wanted to just do everything for them because they were very like, well, we could always just get the standard and upgrade later as we have savings, and we don't need fans in the bedroom. We could just do it one fan at a time as we, you know, they're just being very budget conscious,
Okay.
but it just kind of broke my heart a little bit because I could tell they were looking at the upgraded features.
You're like, can't do it.
When I tell you, they did not upgrade a single thing.
Okay.
It broke my heart because I could tell they wanted to. So the building starts and the slab is poured and you're like, okay, woohoo, everything's happening. And then like the walls start going up and we're like, okay. And then the front door and we're like, this is not the house.
It was the wrong house?
It was the wrong floor plan. It was not the floor plan they had chosen.
What happened?
So the builder, it was actually, listen how crazy this is.
It was a bigger house?
It was a little bit bigger, not hugely bigger, but bigger than what they chose.
Okay.
And the builder said, we have made a huge mistake. We are so sorry. We will tear it down if you want us to.
Oh my gosh. They'd have to take out the slab.
The slab, yeah. Like there wasn't like exterior siding or anything, but it was getting there.
Okay.
Or you can just have this one and we'll just like give you every upgrade we have.
And they were like, yes.
Yes, we'll take every upgrade you have.
Wow,
They had ceiling fans in every bedroom.
I need to know what kind of praying they did.
They had can lights. They upgraded to quartz. They got carpet out of their bedrooms. Like, they went all out.
Were they so excited?
Yes. I should have saved that story for May flowers.
Yeah, good point.
Ugh.
Why did you share that one this time?
I don't know. Tell
they
Jay to put in the next one.
Because they built the wrong house?
Yeah, they built the wrong house,
All
so
right.
it wasn't perfect. But April showers, spring-based flowers.
Okay, it's fine. I love it.
How cool.
Okay.
Hey, are you new here? Make sure you head back to episodes 1 through 3 to hear the foundation and the heart of Hustle Humbly podcast.
Hearing these first 3 episodes will help you to get to know us more and will better frame any other episodes you choose to listen to.
Looking for a specific topic? Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/categories to find exactly what you need.
Enjoy. Let's talk about a client I had with what's called a parapet wall. Do you know a parapet wall? I feel like we've talked about this in some of our previous episodes. It's like an exterior wall that goes straight up and down. It
No
has
overhang?
No overhang.
Yeah.
It kind of has that like Tuscan, Greeky vibe. I don't, it's got a certain architecture to it.
That beautiful Grecian vibe, but we're in Louisiana.
So beautiful. Not good for our weather at all. And it's made of stucco. Also not good for our weather at all. I don't know why they continue to put stucco on houses here, but they do
in Louisiana.
And my clients 2 years in are like, this window keeps leaking. This wall keeps being wet. This. The entire wall almost had to be redone. The stucco was leaking. There was there was nothing that could be done.
Oh my gosh.
It was the nature of the wall. You see the same thing in the neighborhood where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
People constantly having to re-stucco the whole front of their house. Or this neighborhood required wood windows. Also the stupidest thing ever for Louisiana.
Yes.
Wood framed windows was the requirement because they're fancy and beautiful, right? No. I can't tell you how many times you drive by a house and here they are having to rip out all the windows and start again because the windows completely rot in the sun and the rain and the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think that's a great point also because whenever I was trying to make notes for this episode, looking through all my past transactions and things I've been through personally, I was really trying hard not to focus on things that could have been found during the inspection.
No, just like these are
just things that happen that you can really only find out over time.
Sometimes they only happen over time.
Yes. So there's nothing that the home inspector could have done.
No. But I find like that's almost more common in new construction than in pre-existing. Because if it's been lived in, they've already kind of gotten through some of those flaws.
They know the quirks of the home and what to do and where to put drains.
Yeah. Also, here's a story. I had sweet clients. They bought a house. Actually, I sold the house. I was the listing agent. They bought the house, but then they ended up becoming clients of mine later. But they call and they're like, hey, we have a problem. I'm like, well, what is it? Well, these beautiful crepe myrtles in the front flower bed are so lovely. And we just really were excited about having them, except that we're having some plumbing issues. The roots had grown into the plumbing pipes in the ground, like the main pipes in and out of the house.
Yeah.
Roots. There was no way anyone could have caught that before it happened. And they only caught it when the roots got big enough to like affect the way
And now the trees are really pretty.
And here's the crazy thing about a tree problem. If the tree is too large, like a big oak tree or even these giant crepe myrtles, and you cut them down to solve, I'm doing my air quotes, solve the problem, then the roots die and the slab can move. Yeah. So it's almost like, what's the right answer?
I had a buyer looking at a house one time that had, when I say not a pretty oak tree, but just this massive water oak tree right next to the house. This thing, I could not wrap my arms around it. It was so big. So the house and the yard was perfect. We had an inspector come. We had a foundation company come, and they said, here's the problem. This tree was here before the house. The roots are where they are.
Why would they put the house so close?
I don't think that the tree was that big. Okay. The house was like 40 years old, but this tree was like, over 100. And people think, oh, well, the tree can't get that much bigger. Like they're just building it for the size of the tree now. Well, is the house going to be here in 100 years? Then you need to accommodate the tree.
Yeah.
So the foundation company was explaining that the foundation of the home is built on the root system of this house. If we remove the tree, which needs to happen because it could smash, a single limb could take out that whole side of the house. then if we take it out, the roots will rot, cause a sinkhole, and the house will fall into it. But if you leave it,
it's
the
gonna
roots
smash
it's
from
going to
above.
smash from above, and the roots are already starting to push it.
So it's like, would you prefer to be crushed or sunken into the earth?
I think I'd prefer to be sunken.
Yeah, crushed sounds very painful.
Right. I would be sunken.
I feel like sunken's going to go slower.
So my people opted out.
Oh, totally. They're like, we got to go.
They just canceled the contract. They did not feel comfortable with any of the solutions. The people that bought the house did do one of the suggestions that the foundation companies made, which was this. We remove the tree.
Okay.
We add piers.
Shore it all up.
Everywhere.
Basically like the slabs floating on piers.
Yes. We just add piers around this whole thing.
Then the roots can die on
And then if the roots die, but he said we're going to have to make adjustments even if we do this huge project now, we're going to have to make adjustments every 5 to 10 years just to make sure the piers are holding.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's wild.
But in the same note, houses that are on pier and beam foundations, especially in Louisiana, our soil is constantly shifting, especially right now when we're just coming out of a drought. Everything is shrunk, and then it rains and it gets bigger. And so when you are showing a pier and beam house and it says, oh, the foundation was completely rebuilt 10 years ago, the foundation companies have told me before at these inspections, listen, if you are on a pier and beam home, you need to have someone crawl under there every 5 to 8 years.
Okay.
Just to make sure nothing has shifted. The earth shifts.
Yeah.
Depending on the rain that you've had.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if it was done 10 years ago.
Right.
It's due.
Yeah.
Like, this is something you have to keep an eye on always.
Right. While we're talking about the ground shifting, do you know about what can happen to pools?
I've heard this. Have you ever experienced it?
So my mom's dad was a pool builder, and my dad worked in that field for a while with him. And my dad has done some renovations on pools and installed his own, whatever. An in-ground pool in Louisiana, this is not just anywhere an in-ground pool, but because we are at or below sea level in a lot of cases, and our water table, so the amount of water in the ground is pretty high.
Yes.
If you drain your pool completely and it is empty, the ground can push it up out of the ground.
It like squeezes it.
And then it will crack.
Yes.
So like you have to keep. So my dad, we had, I guess, like a plaster. It was gunite, but it was painted, our pool.
Okay, yeah.
And every, few years he would paint it, but he would drain the pool down to like just some in the bottom.
Like you needed to keep some buffer.
Yeah, and do the majority of the work. And then just real quick, you get out the stuff in the bottom. Because it also depends on the weather and what's happening. It's not just going to automatically pop up, right?
Right.
But it could.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was wild. Now I think he told me actually, now newer pools have a specific plug that if you're going to drain it, you can open this plug, and that prevents that from happening.
Very
okay. But like an older pool, you couldn't just drain it to the ground, it could pop out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you don't say. Okay. We've also had a leaky drain in our current home.
Yeah.
And the kids, same thing. Walk in the kids' bathroom. This is less than 10-year-old house, right? And I'm like, why is that baseboard turning colors? I'm like, is a kid peeing on this baseboard? I don't think so. They're too old for that. Just some gasket in the drain of the shower had just given out. Like it had just gotten to its age, I guess, and was like, it was just leaking into the wall. But again, thankful for a handy husband, because he's like, oh my God, he thought it was leaking and he was going to have to take all the tile out of the shower. When he cut into the wall to see what was happening, he's like, oh, it's just this gasket fixed the wall. No mold.
Okay.
Fixed the wall. Bye-bye.
So hypothetically.
Yes.
If my dishwasher leaked earlier this week,
and
I noticed it coming out from under some of my cabinetry that I can't get under there. Like I'd have to rip my cabinets out.
Yeah, you'd have to rip them out.
But it was clean water, and I caught the dishwasher leak.
If it's a new leak, I think
I saw it happening.
Yeah, I don't think.
And then we got like a heater and, a blower and just tried to keep it.
I wouldn't stress about it, but if you're really worried about mold, then you can do a mold test of the air. Because if there's mold in the cabinet,
I'll eventually start seeing it, right?
I would think so. Look
like
at the
just like your baseboard, like I will start seeing that is changing color. So right now I'm just sort of monitoring.
Just watch it.
The situation.
Keep an eye on it.
But I may just get a whole new dishwasher.
As you have to monitor all the parts of your home.
Everything.
All the time. Take a walk around the perimeter every so often, There's parts of your house, think about it, that you never go into, right? Certain spots in the attic. You got to sort of take stock every once in a while because things are happening. It's just like, I always feel like a vacant house dies. It's just because no one's putting eyes on these little things that are just happening over time. Like, it's not just cobwebs and dead bugs. It's also just like random things will finally give out. And if someone had been there to, change the battery in the smoke detector or replace the light bulbs or check the leaky window, like it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But because it's vacant, it kind of like builds. Yeah.
And they say if it's vacant and pipes aren't being used, like the leaks that occur are like so much more.
Right. Like when it's in use, it kind of keeps it.
When things got really slow last year, one of our home inspectors was like, agents, you should have your home inspected, even if you're not moving.
Oh, what a smart way to get business.
Just go ahead and,
see what's going on.
See what's going on. Make sure your, what are those roof boots that have to be changed like every 7 days? Yeah, a boot.
The vent boot.
The vent boot. Every 8 years you have to change them because they start cracking. Like who goes on their roof and checks those?
No, I don't get anyone on my roof.
You wait until it leaks.
I don't get anyone on my roof until there's a hurricane or something leaks.
So what do you do? I feel like you would handle this better than me.
Well, let's see.
After closing, every time something happens or goes wrong, the buyer is like calling you.
Okay, I have a story for you.
Okay.
My best friend, who is not going to call and sue me, is going to call and tell me what happens, though. This is her third transaction with me. It's a townhome. It has a HOA that has a termites contract. We've talked about it on the show before. But she has this really great little courtyard behind, because it's a small little piece of property, little great courtyard fenced in, but it's all pavers. So cute.
Yeah.
Except the pavers run right up to the side of the house and the slab is not exposed.
Okay.
She had a home inspection.
Sure.
They had a termite contract, the HOA.
Yeah, the HOA.
I didn't think about it. The home inspector didn't flag it as being anything because I feel like we would remember this. Well, termites were just running right underneath those pavers and straight into her wall.
Oh.
Bedroom wall, living it up, eating the wall. It didn't show up until she was vacuuming, and she ran the vacuum right into the, guess what, again, baseboard, and it just crumbled.
Oh my gosh.
Like the baseboard just crumbled. She was like, what the heck? Her finger was just going through it. It was just paint left, really. There's no board.
Oh.
It's just like floating paint. So she gets gets someone out to look at it. They're like, you've got termites. She calls the HOA. She's like, we have a termite contract. Who's the person? La, la, la. They're like, well, the HOA, it just was this shady response. Like, basically, yes, we do have a contract, but there's no damage waiver or we don't have damage coverage. So they couldn't even prove to her when it was last treated, although they
were under contract.
They were under contract. So she had to pay $3,000 to fix the wall. It's like, sorry, I don't go on my vacation this year. Like, homeownership is hard.
It is hard.
Did she gain more than $3,000 in equity that year? Probably so. But it still sucks. Like, we don't want to deal with that. So she's not going to sue me or make me feel uncomfortable. But even then when she calls, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'll be like, I just try to point to the direction of any resources that might help. Have you talked to the HOA? Who is the termite company? Did you take a look at the contract? And then once it was just kind of like, no, it's just on me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. That's all you can do. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Home ownership can be hard sometimes.
That was hard for me in the beginning. As a newer agent, I wanted to fix everything. I felt like it was my responsibility. But then with time, realizing, I'm having my own issues at my new house. Like, I can't help your issues too. Like, this is home ownership.
Home ownership is what it is. With the parapet wall, and they called and the house was, newer. I'm like, well, your home warranty is good for a year. Some of the structure's covered after that. I don't know what's really going to be covered, but here's a copy of the home warranty. Here's the name of an attorney if you need it. Here's here's all the builder's contact info. Have you already reached out to them? They're like, yes, the builder came and fixed that for the record. But it is not your responsibility to fix it or take the blame for it or assume responsibility. It is your job to give them resources to try and solve the problem on their own. And if they're just upset and yelling at you, I mean, you could just go back to, hey, this is a really unfortunate turn of events, but we did have a home inspection. It wasn't caught there because it wasn't even happening then. These things happen with homes, whether they're brand new or 50 years old. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this. Here's the name of my AC person. Like, I'm sorry your AC went out.
I think that's a great point, too. I had some buyers that bought an older home that had an older AC. Also, a good reminder that if you want a new AC, maybe you should look at new homes, okay?
Right.
So the inspector was like, it's working, but it is old and this and this. And so in our repair request, we said licensed HVAC company to clean and service and check this, make any repairs needed, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
3 months after they moved in, the AC just like kaputs.
Kicked it.
And she's like, the sellers did this.
How?
I'm like, they didn't. And then, so she actually like got mad at me because I wasn't
supporting that.
I wasn't supporting the theories that the sellers did this. I'm like, we have receipts showing that they did exactly what we asked. And she was pretty aggravated about it. And I understand she was aggravated and because she wanted me to like call the listing agent. I said, I'm not doing that because they met their contractual obligations. This is an April shower story for you.
Great.
4 years later, they listed it with another agent. They did not repeat with me.
Well.
And I thought, fine, they were not happy.
It's all your fault. Her AC died 3 months later.
Yeah, and I feel for the home inspectors. I wonder how many calls they get. That's
daily.
I bought this house and you were the home inspector. And
I'm sure they have plenty of scripts.
Yeah. I mean, imagine the call. We think we get calls. Imagine them because that's what they tell me. You're the home inspector.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hear the story of the house that was crushed?
Yes.
You already know it, but I will tell it for everyone else.
This is a transaction that Katy and I did together.
Okay, so this is this lovely, sweet couple buying their first home.
The cutest couple.
This beautiful property, but it was a very large lot with a very tiny old house. It was only 2 bedrooms. It almost didn't make sense why this house was like this.
And you probably I actually almost thought about buying it myself for the lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's like the house was so small.
So I think they ended up buying the house for right under $200,000.
Crazy.
So low. The lot, and I told them when they bought it, I'm like, I mean, this lot truly is probably $150,000. Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. They just kind of in one ear, out the other. No big deal. There were some older trees there in not good shape. One clearly dead, one on its last legs. We don't know, whatever. So an arborist came during inspection. Seller gave some concessions, but the buyers were going to take care of the tree. This one tree, I think maybe the
one
seller,
tree was very close to the house.
Yeah. And this one tree very close to the house, they were like, well, and for the record, those were my eyes that were like, hey, y'all.
Hey, this tree.
Now that
I remember we had conversations.
Yeah. The inspector might have said the one close to the house, but there were several that were, I'm like, you just need an arborist to look at the trees in this yard. There's a lot going on here. Well, they did not. They did have the arborist come post-closing, maybe take out a few limbs. Like they were like, well, it's still alive, whatever. Okay, fine. But it was right next to the primary bedroom window, right there. Hurricane Ida comes and it is very windy here and the tree falls on, well, first of all, they did a bunch of renovations to the house. And
they renovated the cute little house.
The kitchen renovated by their own 2 hands. The bathroom renovated by their own 2 hands. It looks so good. It's going to be so great. Maybe one day they'll add on and get another bedroom, blah, blah, blah. This tree falls and smashes the house.
All the way
smashed. All the updates, all of it smashed. And luckily, they had left with their cat and their dog and gone to the neighbor's house.
This is the part that I would have never thought to leave the house in that weather.
I gotta believe that when think about it, though, you can watch trees in a hurricane before they finally fall. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets to be, you're like, whoa, this is really sketchy.
Yeah.
It's not like out of nowhere.
Thank God they were friendly enough with the neighbors to feel comfortable.
So they went to the neighbor's house, or else they would have been killed because it happened at night. They likely could have been no matter where they were in the house, they could have been killed because it was a small house.
Right.
This is when I first learned of the fact that a house could be totaled like a car. When they reached out to their insurance, the insurance comes out, well, your mortgage is $200. Your lot is worth $150. To rebuild the house, it's going to cost another $200. They're like, this makes no sense. House totaled. So they paid off the insurance, writes a check to their mortgage company, mortgage paid, and you own the lot outright. You're left with what's left here. The lot's yours. It's all in your name. Goodbye. Bye.
Did they get any money to rebuild?
No, but they own the lot outright.
So then they just had to go get a mortgage for a construction loan.
Think that all the way through. If their lot's worth $150, so they call me and they're like, what's our lot worth? I'm like, $150 all day, every day. They're like, are you serious? It was like they had a $150,000 windfall because the house, the mortgage was paid off. They had this $150,000 lot, which is what they were able to use as collateral to get a construction loan in order. So then they only really needed a $200,000 loan, which is what they already had.
The house they built is so much better.
So much bigger, so much better, worth so much more money.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a total win.
It'll be way easier to sell one day.
So much easier to sell. They did have to live on the property for nearly a year in a camper while they built.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I would say, and they lived.
Yes.
Otherwise, was all positive.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they lost some stuff they really wanted, but and they spent money on that renovation that they never really got to enjoy. But the house was crushed.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
I picture all of the houses that flooded here and like all of the things that can happen when you're a homeowner, like just all the little things and then all of the really big things.
And the worst too is the people that closed and then we flooded.
Yes.
We had a big flood here in 2016 and again in 2021.
Yeah.
Really. Not quite as big, but and there were a handful of people that they had just bought their house.
Yeah.
And it flooded.
Yeah.
How awful.
It's really rough. Do you have any other stories of homeownership woes, personally or not?
So I had a client who bought a new construction. Well, the people had lived in it for 2 years.
Okay.
He built it himself. He was a contractor. He built the house, lived in it 2 years, sold it. Okay. Really pretty house, great lot, huge shop, just pretty. I'm like, the wife texts me, he's like, you're never going to believe this. I'm like, what? She's like, if you go in the water closet, in the master bathroom.
Okay.
And you sit on the toilet, you cannot close the door. It wasn't measured right. And you can't be in there and close the door at all. You would have to like stand on the toilet to close the door, and then you're going to have to like put your feet to the side.
Oh my word.
So there's nothing you can do about it except take the door off. But they, appreciated that the toilet had its own little room. But that's not something we checked during the inspection.
No. Gonna need you to sit on all the toilets.
Yeah. In my personal house, I had bats.
Oh, right. And you have to rehome them.
Yeah, you can't. So in Louisiana, bats are a protected species because they eat mosquitoes. So you can't get rid of the bats. You have to rehome the bats. And if you are caught touching a bat, because I looked into this, not that I was going to touch it, but I'm like, what happens if I just get rid of these bats? It was like a $5,000 fine per bat.
How would they know how many you touched?
I don't know.
Because they removed?
That's what's funny is like if you were like dumb enough to do it yourself and post it on Facebook.
Don't do that.
They could fine you per bat in the video.
Shut up.
Yeah. How crazy. Things you learn that you don't want to learn.
5,000. Yeah, don't learn that the hard way.
So what we had to do was there's a bat, termite companies, pest control companies. There's a bat guy. Bat exterminators, except they don't exterminate. They rehome. And they do this huge inspection of your whole house to look for any gaps because bats are like roaches and they can fit in the smallest hole. One of them, because I actually watched it happen one night, I sat down at my back patio at dusk. It looked like it was flying out from under one of my shingles that was laying flat. I was like, look at them all. At dusk, it was like, at dawn, we fly. Except it was like at dusk. And they came out in a swoop line. Like, it was insane. So what they do is the bat company is there at dusk. And when they all
leave, vacate.
I'm sorry. I said that incorrectly. The bat company comes during the day while the bats are sleeping safely and soundly in your attic.
Okay.
They put these funnels into every tiny little hole they can possibly find on your house.
You just told them where they were coming from?
Yeah, but they did a whole house inspection because they said they will come back to the house. So,
my word.
They like to come back to where they came, so they will find another way if there's another way.
This is creeping me out so much.
It was so creepy. So he said, and if they can't get in, they'll just go to the neighbor's house. So what they said.
Sorry about you.
Sorry, neighbors. So they put all these funnels in every even if it was just a precautionary hole. The bats can get out, but however this funnel works, they can't get back in.
And then where do they take them? To the woods?
No, they fly out into the night sky. But when they come back at night, they can't get back in your house, so they go to the neighbor's house. or wherever bats go, the trees or wherever the bats go. But they come back to your house and are like, wait a minute, we can't get back in here. And so you leave the funnel on for like 3 days to make sure all the bats flew out, because apparently you'll get like a lazy bat that's like, I'm not flying tonight, bring me back some food. So you have to leave the funnel there to make sure they all vacated. And then the pest control company came and removed all the funnels and had to seal all the holes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're gone. So the other problem is that after they sealed the holes, like they sealed the holes like a pest company would. Like they just looked awful.
You're like, well,
messy.
I don't have bats, but now I have a mess.
Yeah, it was just a big mess.
Do you want to hear a bat story?
Yeah.
My only bat story. When I lived in Colorado briefly, I was in a rental, so not technically a home ownership problem, but somebody owned that place.
Yeah.
I am laying in the bed on a Saturday morning. And I'm just like, I don't know if I heard a noise, but I'm like starting to stir a little. And near the closet, there was a flush mount light fixture that was round, like your standard old boob light, if you will.
Okay, yeah.
Round fixture in a square hole. Like the old fixture must have been square.
Okay.
Whatever. So there were quarter size holes on 4 sides of this light fixture. And I don't know if I heard a sound or what, but I opened my eyes and I watched this bat fall out of the light fixture
Katy.
while I am laying in my bed.
No.
And I am like, Wah! I like throw the blanket over my head and like crawl out of the room because I'm like, this thing is flying around my room. I was home alone. I had a roommate at the time, but I was home alone.
No.
I am like, I don't know. I've never had a bad experience before. I am in my early 20s. I don't have like a plan here.
Did it look scary?
Every bat looks scary to me. They're rats with wings.
Yeah, it's so scary.
No, they are rodents that fly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I'm like hiding on the balcony because I'm on the 2nd floor. And I'm looking in and the bat flies out of my room and it's flying around the living room. And then and I've got my phone and I'm like, who do I call? So I call like the landlord people and they're like management company. And they're like, yeah, just like get a newspaper and like shoo it out.
Absolutely not. No.
Shoo it out. Also, how long ago was that when they told me to get a newspaper? I will tell y'all, it was 2001. Anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I can't shoo it out. Like get a broom or something? No, it's landing on like the curtain rods and hanging upside down.
Oh, no.
And it flew to the kitchen and it landed upside down on the cabinet. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do now?
And then how many?
It was the only one I saw at that time. And it was in the morning, so I don't know what it was doing stirring.
Mm-hmm.
So I call this guy I work with, and I'm like, in retail, and I'm like, hey, what am I supposed to do about this? And he is like, well, bats like fruit. Just make like a fruit trail. This, of course, 20-year-olds helping other 20-year-olds. Just make like a little fruit trail in the house.
Just get a charcuterie board.
And it'll follow the fruit out. I'm like, what? So I like run into the house while it's in one room and grab like an apple and a knife and I run back to the balcony and I'm like slicing apple and like tossing it back in to make a trail, air quotes, because I'm not going back in there. I'm going to be attacked by that.
Yeah.
And I'm just throwing these apples in there and I'm like out here just like, I don't know what to do. And I have the balcony door like all the way open. I'm like, I don't know. And then eventually it just flew right out of the balcony door.
To the apples?
No, it never touched those damn apples. I look like a fool. What
did you do? What did you do after that?
I plugged up the holes around my light fixture.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. It's like Meredith Blake with the sticks.
I don't remember the sticks.
And,
yes.
And she's like,
right. Exactly.
The mountain lions.
The mountain lions. There are no mountain lions, are there? Yeah. Well, there was a bat. It was real. I saw apples. It didn't eat apples.
Wow. Home ownership, man. That was good times.
I mean, it's really good times.
Should buy a house.
Right. You should totally buy a house. If you haven't yet, you should. It's a real joy.
Yeah.
I wish I had more animal stories. I did have a cat get into my apartment once, and I'm very afraid of cats. And my sister and I are
afraid of cats?
Oh, yes. My sister and I are screaming like little girls.
Because of a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
A random cat.
I didn't know this about you.
Oh, they scare me.
Well, whenever I had a client buy a house in Zachary, there was an old dog on the back porch or whatever. So he was there for when we saw the house. He was there for the home inspection. Well, he's there after they move away. And I called the listing agent and was like, hey, they left their dog. And they were like, oh, that's not their dog. He just lives there.
He just lives there? That's why they're moving.
He's like the neighborhood dog. He just goes around to all the houses. I'm like, well, he seems to only be at this house.
What did your buyers do?
He just lives on the back porch.
Oh my God. Do they feed him?
Yeah. They said sometimes he does go to the other houses, but.
Who takes him to the vet?
Nobody.
Oh my word.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my word.
One more story.
Okay, let's hear it.
I had a lady moving here from California. We're very different.
Clearly.
She was like asking me all these questions about alligators. And I'm like, listen, ma'am, I know you've never been to Louisiana. Have I seen alligators before? Yes. Are they walking down the street? No, definitely not, So she's just asking me all these questions. And I'm like, did you Google what questions to ask about Louisiana? Because they were just very, like, if you had to stereotype a state, these were the questions that you would ask. So anywho, she was actually a delight, but I just thought it was funny. I'm like, why are you moving here if these are all the things you've heard? Okay. She moves in.
Oh, gosh.
First night in the home, calls me screaming, there's a snake in my closet. I'm like, what? Sure enough.
A real
snake in her closet. And I was like, welcome to Louisiana.
No, it's a reptile. It's not an alligator.
It's not an alligator, but it is a snake. Mm-hmm. So, and I thought, I'm over here thinking, man, this lady is really paranoid.
She brought that on herself.
That. Yeah.
She brought that energy with her, the scary reptile in her house.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I just, I can't. Here's a funny one, and then we can go, because it kind of wraps us right back around to the beginning in our tea. Right now, there's this, it's not a meme because it's a freaking news story, but did you see this? The New Orleans Police Department is having issues with the rats are eating their cannabis, and they're like running wild in the police department.
Oh, the rats are happy. Just la-ti-da.
Yes.
Wow.
That was the headline. Was like, actually, let's find the exact headline and then we'll be done.
So
have you done all of your stories?
Okay, I'll give you the recap of what I have left.
Okay. Oh, good. Let's.
Okay. My client bought a townhome, loved the pool, couldn't wait for her grandkids to use the pool. We went and visited the pool every time we were there. Pool was beautiful. Pool was blue. She moved in. Pool is green.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has to deal with the HOA now. Welcome to home ownership. Home ownership sometimes comes with HOAs, and they're not fun.
Fair.
I had a client buy a house only to find out that 90% of the house was like rentals. And so like street parking was insane.
Oh, right.
HOA dues went up significantly. Mm-hmm. That's not fun. Don't forget, you have to pay property taxes and insurance. That's fun. And then I had one that moved in and was like, this house is so perfect. Like, we inspected everything, only to find out from the neighbor that he had hurt himself in the garage and the previous owner, and that's how he died. So she was upset about that because she's already moved in. She found out like months later. And then there was one where we had been in a drought, right? Mm-hmm. So we had a home inspection on the house they were buying. And then after the first heavy rain that we had, these mold spots appeared on the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
And there was like a lot of mold in this bedroom. And there was a leak up there. But it wasn't caught during the home inspection because the area wasn't really accessible from the attic.
Oh.
And the spots weren't visible really unless wet.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had been there for some time, but everything had totally dried up. Mm-hmm. And so you just couldn't see it until it rained.
Yikes. I have one more for me.
Okay.
Tell us the story of, I think it's you, and you kept having, I feel like, a leak in a wall in your bedroom.
My house.
Yes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Please tell us what happened.
I have been wanting an accent wall in my bedroom forever. So I finally decided to bite the bullet and get an accent wall. Well, 3 days after I got this beautiful, like, herringbone wood put on my wall. I love it. I still love it. Every time I go in my bedroom, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. 3 days after this happens, my AC won't work. They come out. They are there for like 2 hours. They cannot figure out what's wrong with it. So they're like, it must be the coil. You know, they replace it. I pay like $2,700 for a new coil. Only 2 days later, they come back. It's not working. It wasn't the coil at all. At some point when doing this accent wall, a nail hit some sort of line to the AC that runs behind my master bedroom wall. And so we would either A, have to remove my new wall to cut it open to get in there to make the repair, or B, we could reroute the lines to where now it runs along the exterior of my home. But it doesn't, that's what we opted to do because that's the side where all the equipment is anyway. It doesn't really matter. We don't see it, but it cost me a lot of freaking money.
To get that accent wall.
And I told Tanner, this is why I don't do anything.
That's why we don't have nice things.
Yes, that's how I felt. Like I never do anything. And then I finally do. And look what happened.
One nail, I mean, like that had to be a real specific nail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good times.
So there you have it.
Now I'm all bitter.
Home ownership is hard.
So hard.
Don't worry. We'll come back and tell you why it's worth it next time.
Yeah.
Or in a few weeks. We'll see.
Stay tuned for May flowers.
Okay. And here comes a toast. Oh, is it in your? It's over there.
Here comes the toast from Nar Next.
Yeah, our Nar Next toast. Alysa's going to get us a name. It depends on how fast she can run over to the basket. Thank you, ma'am. This just in. The toast is from, oh no. Oh yes. Okay, great. Valerie Gonzalez is toasting to Jennifer Clark, and they are in, Valerie's in Bryan, Texas, and Jennifer is in Iola, Texas.
Oh.
So here we go. Enjoy that toast. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Hi, I'm Valerie Gonzalez, and I'm from Bryan, Texas. And I'm toasting Jennifer Clark, my bestie, my teammate. And I'm here with her Hustle Humbly crew. Love you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review or drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all of the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.